Ladies and gentlemen, very important guest today we have on. He's actually lucky to be on the show today because unfortunately PTTs have not yet come to Michigan State, but I'm so happy he's on today. Harry Jadun, head coach men's tennis. Welcome on. How are we doing?
Good, James. Thanks for having me. And yeah, I promise you, once we get our new facility, $10 million new facility done, first event we're going to be hosting is a summer PTT to get her at some matches and some, keep them going during the summer.
Hang on a minute. I didn't have that one planned. $10 million new facility. We need to hear about this thing.
Yep. So we were lucky enough a few years ago, one of our major donors to the university, the Secchia family, they made a $10 million commitment to the university, and they designated it for men's and women's tennis. And we're building a new outdoor facility, and then it will also have a team building, locker rooms, training room, all that stuff involved. So, it's right in the heart of campus. It's going to be beautiful. It's being built brick by brick. So we're already practicing on the courts. The courts are nice and gritty, bouncy.
Wow.
And every day when we're practicing, we're just seeing the building, take shape, take form. So, by March, when we start to take, some more matches outdoors, that building and the court should be done. So excited for our guys, especially our seniors. Usually when you talk about a facility being built, it takes a long time. This one, they'll be able to play in it their final year before they graduate.
So the facility will be ready for dual matches from March onwards.
Exactly. Yep, that's the plan. So we're super pumped about that. Super pumped with how fast it's gone and they're moving.
Did you have a say, and did you guys work together on the speed of the courts? Or do you not care?
Yes. No, we're big on anytime we resurface courts, indoors, outdoors, whatever, I always tell them make them as bouncy and slow as possible. And two reasons for that is number one, you see it on the Pro Tour. That's kind of where a lot of the courts are going outside. It seems like Cincinnati, but I was looking at a stat that actually Wimbledon is borderline playing slower than Cincinnati is right now.
Really?
But yeah. But you see that trend on the tour, just longer points, more racket head speed. Guys are applying more spin on the ball than they have in the past. And then also, when you resurface courts, they speed up over time. So this will hopefully give us a good, 3-4 years with these courts that will training will be good. And I mean, you were a coach not too long ago, and I love the long rallies during practice, man. Set some guys up with some 2-on-1s on some gritty courts. Test their physicality, get them going, and gas them every single day.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about you. Okay. So you were an assistant coach. You then moved into a head coaching role at Michigan State. Tell us a little bit about, I've done some of these interviews, discussions with people like yourself at other schools.
Yep.
I'm always interested to hear how that transition has gone and what you've learned as becoming and being a head coach.
Yeah, I think the transition is definitely, I think mentally it takes its toll on you. Just you go from being an assistant coach where, if things don't work out, if you lose a match or, it doesn't fall on you. It goes to the head coach more so. Or if a guy gets in trouble or if a guy, has something happen off the court, they don't call the assistant coach. A lot of times they call the head coach, and it's kind of, hey, figure this out. How can I help this kid or whatever it is. So I think, the biggest adjustment for me was just a lack of sleep. I mean, I was worried about everything from how our social media was being presented to, making sure the courts were cleaned after, a big tailgating Saturday, so that when we practice the next day, there's not junk all over the courts, like little things like that you don't really think of. Those things keep you up at night, and you just want to make sure that these guys are getting the best experience and that you're maximizing their potential while they're here at Michigan State. So, it took me a while to get used to it. The first year of my head coaching career was definitely unsustainable. Like, I got married that year. We were planning a wedding. It was my first year as head coach. We were traveling to Europe. It seemed like every other week, trying to get players, and it was crazy. But now, I just finished my third year, going into my fourth, a little bit more, settled and have my feet on the ground and able to really kind of focus on the guys and a little bit of the things that I really loved about being an assistant coach, kind of getting all the head coaching responsibilities done so that I can kind of get back to going into the details with the guys and working with them day to day, whether it's on the court, off the court. But it's been fun. We're building this airplane as it flies, and it's been fun to see the transformation of the program. And each year is posed a unique challenge, what expectations or the level of the team or different things. So it's fun to be in a program like Michigan State because it grows every single year and you're accomplishing new things every single year. So yeah, it's been great.
So you say that, building as you go, right? I mean,
Yeah.
What's the vision? What's the where do you see Michigan State men's tennis here in 5 years? Is it the Michigan State like basketball, right? If you think about Michigan State and basketball, it's you think about Tom Izzo and you think about that amazing arena and those amazing players that have played there. Is that the goal here? Is that where you think is possible for the program?
The vision is that I make it home every single night around 7 p.m., have some dinner, crack a beer at the end of the night, and then wake up early in the morning the next day, do it all over again. But if I can get through each day, I'm a happy camper at the bare minimum because it's wild. We're doing a lot, whether it's individuals, recruiting, fundraising, all that stuff. It's running around like a chicken with my head cut off. But no, that really is the vision. When I played here, we had a great group of guys with a chip on their shoulder, but we weren't really competing for championships. And now we've kind of had a taste, whether it's a Big Ten championship, national championship. We gotta really cement ourselves as a contender year in, year out. And that means that we've just got to continue to do what we've done, learn from our experiences. 2 years ago was the first time that we qualified for NCAAs in over, I think it was 12 years. And then also it was the second time we qualified for NCAAs in our 110-year program history. So each year we learn a little bit more about what it takes to compete at that level and just being at the top of college tennis because the air is thin up there. The differences are super, super small, and it could be a lineup decision. How do you pair your doubles teams in the big matches? Do you put a senior with a freshman? Do you put two young guys together? Whatever it is. So, but in the end, when we look back on this program in 5 years, 10 years, I hope that, you see us consistently in the top 10 in the country, competing for Big Ten championships, hopefully winning some Big Ten championships. But that takes a lot of work, and it's competitive, man. These guys don't slow down. I mean, I'm glad you're out of the profession because I don't have to deal with you anymore. But some of these guys, they're 24/7 nonstop.
Yep, absolutely. Well, that's actually I'm starting to think about this with Michigan State and the new facility, and obviously the resources that you guys have as an athletic department. So it's very exciting to see where you think this team can be, not only this year but in future years too. What is your recruiting philosophy, right? Is there something that you stick by? Are there certain players that you're looking for? Is there a certain country or region in the world where you've had great relationships with? Or what are some things you can share with people out there about who you are and what you look for in a recruit?
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know what the answer to this question has been from other coaches, but I think coaches are BSing if they say they don't look at UTR. Like, I think UTR is a massive indicator, and nothing pisses me off more as a coach. And I think Coach Roditi at TCU, me and him have had some conversation, but he always says this, the players that say, oh, I'm a 13 UTR level, but my actual UTR is a 12.25. And it's like, no. You're a 12.25, and you can say you have a lot of potential, but your UTR is your UTR, and that's what I love about it. Like, it comes down to winning matches in this profession, however you do it, and whether you chip all your forehands or you get to the net a lot, whatever it is, winning matches is an art, and some players find a way to win, some players find a way to lose. And so we definitely, the UTRs jump out at the page, but then it's also a little bit of a double-edged sword, because if a player has a high UTR, then you're competing with the big dogs. And so, you got to find those guys that are high UTRs, and you want to compete with the top teams in the country to win recruits. I think that's a good indicator for your program. But then also you do want to find those guys. Maybe they do have a bit lower UTR, but when you see them, it pops off the page, whether it's their forehand or their serve, and you're just thinking, oh man, this guy, give him 2 years in a college program. Maybe his freshman year he takes some lumps, but he'll get better and better. I mean, you guys did a hell of a job with that at Tennessee. I think of a guy like Monday, who wasn't a highly sought after recruit, but with his frame being a lefty and how the ball came off his racket, in 4 years, that guy's a top player in the country and in the world. So UTR is huge. And then we look for weapons for sure. Like, do you have a forehand that's going to be able to win you points? Because you watch professional tennis, and that's what the highest level of college tennis is. It's challenger level tennis. And those guys they're not hoping and praying to win matches. When it's, 30 all, 5-4, you're serving for it. You got to hit a big serve. You got to hit a big +1, and you got to get to the net and finish the volley. You can't sit back and pray that the other guy's going to miss. That can only take you so far. So we look for weapons. One thing that, another thing that I look for, just kind of looking at your physicality and game style, if a guy can slide off both legs, I think that's such an underrated skill in nowadays, because, guys can play defense really well if they can slide off both legs and hit open stance, running, passing shots, things like that. You can develop the consistency. You can develop the targets that they need to hit. You can develop a little bit of the ball quality stuff. But if a guy has a good base, he's a good athlete, he's got a live arm, that stuff really jumps out. And then, just in terms of character aspects, I mean, one thing is you got to love tennis. Don't come to Michigan State if you're looking to if you're looking to be, honestly, don't come to Michigan State if you're not looking to be a pro tennis player. We want guys that are playing in the summers. We want guys that are playing in the school year. Some of our guys will go play. We got a couple guys going down to Champaign for a PTT. They're playing ITF men's tournaments. We're taking them to tournaments. So, we want guys that love the sport and are going to work their tails off and take the feedback, because the one good thing about college tennis, and honestly one good thing about PTTs, is you just get a ton of matches. And what you do with those matches and how you learn from them is up to you. But you're going to get a lot of opportunities to improve your game, and you're going to play against a high level of competition. So if you love it, you're going to find a way. You look at teams that are winning championships, those guys are playing a ton of pro events. And that's what we want to do as well.
So you kind of touched on it, but again, if there's a recruit and he's considering Michigan State, he's considering a rival in the Big Ten, he's considering a school in the SEC, and he's considering a school in Conference USA, right? And he wants to do his 4 visits. He wants to do 4 visits.
Yep.
How are you going to get this player? How are you going to get him? You really want him, right? You're bringing him on a visit.
Yeah.
What's your plan here as a coach?
Oh yeah. I mean, they got to come to town on either a football Saturday or a basketball game for sure. We got to show them what East Lansing's like. We got big athletics. We're no Neyland Stadium, but we seat 75,000 in Spartan Stadium. So game days are awesome with tailgating and stuff like that. And then the experience at the Breslin Center. We have one of the best student sections for our basketball team, and obviously a historic program there. And really, I think bringing them in where they can see East Lansing when it's alive, they see what it means to be a Michigan State Spartan, because people give a damn here. If you're a Michigan State athlete wearing the puff jacket or the hoodies, when you walk around, people will give you a go green. They kind of recognize it. So I think it's really important for people to see the passion that people have for Michigan State athletics. And then really, I think just sitting the player down. And I think the big thing that we've had is the Conference USA team. If the kid chooses, the Conference USA team over Michigan State and or the other, big dogs that they're considering, too good. They probably wanted to go to maybe a smaller school, maybe play higher in the lineup early, whatever it is. But when we're competing against, the Big Ten rivals, the top across the country, which is where you want to be as a coach in a recruiting battle, what we're selling is, don't come here for the history. Don't come here for the legacy. We don't have much. I mean, I was a player here. That tells you about the level of Michigan State tennis, but so, come here because you want to be the guy. And two of the guys three of the guys that have really taken that recruiting sell to heart are Ozan Barsh, Aris Thanos, and Matt Forbes. I mean, they had offers from all over the country. They decided to come to Michigan State because we're different in that we don't have Big Ten championships. We don't have NCAA tournament appearances. We don't have All-Americans. But you're going to be the guy that when people talk about Michigan State tennis, that's who they're going to remember. So we want leaders in that. We want kind of that entrepreneurial mindset of, hey, I want to be the flag bearer for this university and create a legacy rather than, go to another school where they already have that legacy and you're kind of just building off what somebody else has. So there's different pressures in that, the expectations, when I first came in weren't as hot. Now the expectations are getting higher and higher. We're growing in a program as that. And also the conversations that we're in with different recruits is a little bit better now because of the success that we're having in the rankings and all that good stuff that's going on here at Michigan State. I'll also say, I met Tom? Yeah, Coach Izzo is unbelievable, and that's another thing that you come through East Lansing, recruit, you'll find yourself in Coach Izzo's office, and it's happened with a lot of our recruits. And a couple stories about Coach Izzo. When both Ozan and Matt were on their recruiting visits here, I kind of texted Coach Izzo's director of ops and said, hey, we got a big time recruit coming to town. Is it okay if he checks in practice? And Coach Izzo's chief of staff says, hey, absolutely. And so we'll sneak into practice. We'll kind of just get in the door and go sit in the nosebleeds. And Coach Izzo actually comes out of his way in the middle of his practice, brings the guys down, talks to them, brings them into his office, kicks me out of the office, and talks to them and their families for about an hour. And this is all while his team is practicing. And so, that's just a testament to the kind of guy he is. Another thing that he's done for our program is we take the guys on a little camping trip every summer. And this year we did a little donor event, and we do the donor event. We're having lunch, and Coach Izzo kind of says, hey, come on by the house later, because he has a house down the road. It's on Lake Michigan, and I'll take the guys out on the water. And I'm thinking maybe he's got a pontoon boat and they'll go out on the water for 30 minutes or something like that. And for the next 2 hours, Coach Izzo is on a jet ski, throwing our guys off the tube, having fun, calling them soft, all that good stuff, saying, oh, the basketball players, they were way tougher than you guys. So, he's so generous with his time. And he's just unbelievable for all the programs here at Michigan State. He's not the type of guy, and you see it in the interviews, he's down to earth, and he's not the type of guy that's, because he's in a position of power, is going to treat you a different way. He treats the janitors at the Breslin Center the same as his star player. And I think that's why they've had so much success and why the people here in East Lansing just won't let him leave.
Amazing. Absolutely love those stories.
Yep.
I got a question for you. Obviously, the Big Ten has changed. Lots of additions, West Coast, East Coast. How are you guys managing that? How are you managing that travel? And does it change how you schedule outside of conference?
Yes, 100%. I mean, we're big fans of it. And the reason why we're big fans of it is just, for us, it's not, travel isn't terrible in terms of because there are 4 teams that were added out west, and they're each travel partners. So if we go out to USC, UCLA like we did last year, Oregon and Washington come to us, or vice versa. So this year we're going to go out to we're going to go out to Washington, Oregon, and UCLA and USC are going to come to us, hopefully on a nice, chilly, snowy, 20-degree day here in East Lansing. We're playing indoors. The courts are fast on them. And, hopefully their flight gets delayed and they don't get too much practice on our courts. But for us, it hasn't been too much travel. And obviously from a scheduling standpoint, those 4 teams are all historically, some of them are top 10, some of them are NCAA tournament teams, but it just makes it easier for us in the non-conference schedule. We can be a little bit more selective about the teams we select in the non-conference schedule, just because we know that we have built-in matches against some teams that are going to help our rankings. But, scheduling's an art, and trying to figure out what the best balance is, and, road trips versus home trips, things like that. It's something that you figure out as a coach as you go, but having those teams in the Big Ten is a huge advantage.
Got it. Well, my advice would be actually on the scheduling part is, if you truly believe you have the talent and you have the team to go very far, schedule as tough as you can, because you should be over 500. You should be over 500, and a loss doesn't really hurt you. It's a 0.1 loss or something like that. But if you happen to get a win, especially on the road, you go right to the top. So that would be my advice. But really, talk about that. I want to talk about your program a little bit in terms of if there is a recruit or player listening who's considering going to Michigan State. How do you run this thing? How do you do your practices? A lot of coaches are different. Individual, team, doubles, fitness. Like, talk us through what it is. Is it morning individuals, afternoon team? What's it like? And I'm sure it's no secret. It's just who you are and how you like to run.
So, a typical day will look like we'll do our fitness. We always do our fitness in the morning. So about 6:30 a.m., the guys are, either on the court if we're doing on-court conditioning or in the weight room, 6:30 a.m. And then that's about an hour long. And then after that, the guys will have sporadic classes throughout the day. So they might have 1 to 2 classes. Online is a great option here at Michigan State. So our guys have a little bit more flexibility, especially with American players. Internationals, they have to have 9 in-person classes. But then they'll come in each day. We get the guys in for an individual where they're one-on-one with the coach for an hour as well. And then about 2:30 p.m., that's when all the guys come in, and we'll have our athletic trainer take them through a little dynamic warm-up, activation type of thing. And we try to mimic what the pros do there. So you see what Carlos Alcaraz, Yannick Sinner, those guys are doing beforehand. We try to do it, whether it's med balls, ladder drills, shadow swings, whatever it is, try to be unique in that and mimic the pro tour. And then at 3 p.m., we really get busy with practice. And one thing that we start off every single practice with, we always start with a doubles touch volley. So as if you're the service partner putting the ball away, just because I feel like it gets the guys going. They hit one, they move out. And then also it's just a shot that we don't get enough reps at. And if anybody knows college tennis, the dubs point is unbelievably huge with momentum and confidence going into dual matches. So want to make sure guys are getting good touches to put the ball away. And then after that, we'll go into a dubs drill, full court. We call it a basket. So we go right into it. Fast pace, fast feeds, next ball in, almost king of the court type of situation. And then whoever wins the basket, so whoever's champ at the end of the basket gets a little, we call it's a gold star. So we have a little gold star standing, like these guys are kindergartners. And so at the end of the year, we see who has the most buckets won, most gold stars on the standings list. And then after that, we do, different practices. We have a different theme for each day. So some days it might just be strictly 2-on-1s where, you're pushing your teammate. He's moving left and right. He's gassed at the end of it. We rotate. The next guy goes. Other days it's more point play based. And then other days we might break it down between, 2 or 3 courts. Each coach has 2 or 3 guys, and you're doing more individual work, drilling, whatever it is. So we mix it up. And then another thing is at some point you got to play tennis. And that means hitting serves, hitting returns, playing points. It might be a little less fun, more slow pace, but at the end of the day, that's what a match is. So our guys love drilling. They love moving, but you got to get those serves and returns in, 2 most important shots in tennis. So that's kind of what it looks like. And then they get some homework done. Hopefully they get their homework done. We're on them if they don't. And then, go to bed and do it all over the next day. So it's a blast. Again, like I said, my goal is to get home at 7 p.m., nice dinner, crack a beer, watch a Law & Order SVU, forget about everything that happened that day, and we do it again the next day.
I love it. Last question. It involves your team again. Talk us through your roster. Are you looking for January? Expectations for the year? Do you guys put goals down? Do you just wake up and work? What are you thinking for the year for the team?
Yeah. So our roster is full right now, so nobody for January, but we will be looking, for 3 players for next year. So we're staying busy on the recruiting trail. And then in terms of goals, I mean, it goes without saying when you have Ozan Barsh, Eris Fanos, and Matt Forbes and the guys that we have on our team, those guys can play at a certain level. And so we don't talk about it. It's kind of implied in our program that we're competing for Big Ten championships. We aren't doing all this work. For nothing. And if we can win a Big Ten championship, that puts us in a really good conversation on the national stage, and we'll take care of that when we take care of it. But first and foremost is the conference play. Ohio State has obviously carried the flag for a few years now, but you look at teams like Illinois, UCLA, USC, big addition here. So Michigan, Northwestern, Indiana's got a good team. Washington's always tough. So it's like you win the Big Ten, you're in really good shape.
For sure.
You're probably a top 2 team in the country. And that being said, you know, we talked a lot about that stuff last year, but we haven't really talked about it this year. This year, we've been focused on the process, just our day-to-day goals. What do we look like when we're competing our best? What do we need to improve on a day-to-day basis so that at the end of the year, we achieve those goals? So, you know, the guys are working. This is probably the most motivated team that I've had here at Michigan State. And honestly, part of that is because we felt like we left a little bit on the table last year with our squad. So the guys, they don't want to make the same mistake twice, and they're busting their butts, you know, every single day. And I'm excited to see where it takes us.
I love it. Does Ozan lead? Does he lead vocally or by work?
He leads a little bit of both. But I mean, the more important one is, I think, vocally. I mean, we've got a video, and I was catching up with Josh Lapidat at Kentucky, their new third assistant coach. And we got a video of Ozan his freshman year. We were playing the hidden duel at Kentucky, and it was set point. He plays a long point, hits a nice little drop volley, and wins the set. And Michigan State, we've never competed against Kentucky in our lives, right? And Ozan drops his racket and kind of walks off like he's hot shit. And from that point forward, I was like, all right, we got a guy that's not afraid of anyone. And he drops his racket, walks to the changeover. And, of course, Cedric at UK hollers over from 3 courts over and says, "You forgot your racket," and makes Ozan look pretty silly there on the changeover. But, you know, he's fearless, and he's not afraid to go anywhere against anyone, anytime, and compete his nuts off, honestly. So I think that's the way he leads, is when it's match day and he's playing the best of the best. That's when his best level comes out.
I love it. Well, Coach, Harry, appreciate your time. Good luck this year. I look forward to bringing the first ever PTT to the best facility in the country. Look forward to helping your guys this year, and I will be following. So appreciate your time, and thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, man. Appreciate you having me on.